Oh, here we go. This is Monday Night Manager. My good friend, Eric Wynalda. And I do have of course, I have a lovely little banner for you, Eric. So stand by.
Let's see it.
There's Eric Wynalda, former USMNT player. We met a week ago when the World Cup had just started. Now we are fully well into the second week. So let's get straight into it, shall we, my son? And get our thoughts on what's been happening. And of course, the people who have made it all happen. And we have to start with this man. Come on, my son. Messi to the rescue. Listen, Wynalda, either he's very lucky or he's he's very good. But my big concern with Argentina and Messi is the reliance on this boy. I mean, what on earth happened? I mean, hey, let's be fair. Over the last 20 years, I don't think he's ever had more than a cold. But what would happen if he got injured? I think the whole of Argentina might collapse.
Well, it's weird, man, because they're completely reliant on him, as you mentioned. It's hard for Argentina's trying so hard to win with him that they sometimes force his inclusion, if that makes sense. They have plenty of weapons. They got a bunch of. I mean, Di Maria, he's not the youngest kid in the world, but you can still see when he's on that this team kind of runs around him more than Messi at times. Messi just will walk for good 10, 15-minute stints, and then he'll have the lightning rod moment that we all know he's capable of. Great win over Mexico. A little bit of controversy with him stepping on the Mexican jersey in the locker room, which didn't happen. Everybody calm down. It was not something that he did intentionally.
It's something that you did, though, once upon a time.
Well, I have engaged in such poor behavior, but you know, Messi, because he is a soccer god, would never do that. So I think look, is he still the greatest player in the world? No, he's not. Did he used to be? Absolutely. But the Argentina, you know, falling the way they did in the first game just absolutely blew everybody away. No one expected Saudi Arabia to get that result. A couple of great moments from them, great goals, to be honest. But the expectation is just that it's just going to magically happen. There's no magic in World Cups. You have to make it happen. He gets a great goal. Is reminiscent of the goal that he scored against Manchester United, by the way, the Champions League final. It was almost identical. Same spot, same corner, nothing you can do. When he hits it that well and with that great of placements. But those aren't the kind of goals that you would expect, right? Look at what's happening with Ronaldo. Look at what's happening with Neymar. Look what's happening with guys like Suarez and Messi. They're dropping further away from the goal because they don't want to go in there. And they can't go in there anymore. They can't dribble past people the way they used to. So it's a wait and see, man. They still got to play. They got to play one more game.
Yes,
Mexico is in trouble, big trouble, but they got to take out Poland, and Poland's no pushover.
Hey, and Poland, you know, they know that they need a result to qualify themselves. Messi versus Lewandowski should be a beauty. Okay, this morning we saw Brazil come to the good, but it took quite a bit of time. No Neymar. Who needs Neymar? They had Richarlison, and of course they had Casemiro. Didn't have time for a Casemiro picture, but Richarlison right now, in my view, the goal of the tournament, hands down. Everybody else, put your toys in your pram and go home.
It was good. You know, I think the logic here right now is that can Brazil sustain without Neymar? And the answer is yes. It just means they're going to share the ball and they're going to play quicker. It's going to be 1- and 2-touch soccer. It's not going to have a guy on your team that every time he gets the ball, he touches it 3, 4, 5 times and then complains that he got fouled. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle it.
The complaints he got fouled, Eric. I mean, he got the crap kicked out of him by Serbia. They weren't taking any prisoners whatsoever.
Well, I did see him on social media walking around in Doha yesterday. So I don't think that injury is going to be as bad as we initially thought, and he'll have his inclusion in this competition at some point again. But to that point, I mean, when Richarlison came out, Rafinha came out, and they put in Jesus and I believe Anthony. And, you know, they ended up getting a goal out of an unlikely source in Casemiro, but still, what a strike that was. And look, it's Swiss. The Swiss are hard to break down. They're very difficult to break down. The Serbs will not be able to break them down either. So, my point is with Brazil is they actually might get a little better, and that sounds weird without Neymar. but this is other guys getting their opportunity. We didn't even see Martinelli today. We didn't even get a couple of guys didn't even get a look. So I think Brazil is just fine. They're in great position. They're the only one of two teams with 2 wins. They're clearly through to the next round, and nobody wants to play these guys.
And the first time since 2002 that they won the opening games, and in 2002 they did win it. My last comment about Richarlison, though, he needs to stop acting like Neymar. Every time he gets touched, he's rolling around like a big girl. Okay, this is you, this man. What do you think?
Look, we were wondering if he was going to show up. We were wondering if he was going to explode. He still has one more game in group play. He's young enough to not need a break. Mbappe is going to take over this World Cup. I didn't know if the French team was going to be that good. Benzema sitting this one out, and what would Giroud mean to this team? Griezmann's actually showed up. So with all the injuries that they've had, a ton of Nkunku goes out, and Kante wasn't ever going to be able to be a part of this. The French team is still very good, and sometimes
a little dismissive about Griezmann, though. I think Griezmann is actually, Mbappe's the cherry on top, but I think Griezmann's the oil. He's the thing that makes them tick. That little left foot of his is pretty spectacular.
He doesn't care about the spotlight. He does not care. He really doesn't, and that's the beauty of it. It's the same with Giroud. Giroud just surpassed Thierry Henry as the all-time scorer, and it just kind of went under the radar. This team, for all the things that we've always known the French team to be, this ability to implode, they can't get along, or whatever. They've seemingly figured this out, and the injuries have actually helped them. Without having all these distractions, they know who's going to play, and they look great. So Mbappe is definitely going to get the golden boot, in my opinion. He's just going to continue to roll, and nobody wants to play them either. That French-Brazil matchup in the quarterfinals looks pretty scary.
I think it's going to be actually England-France in the quarterfinals.
Well, yeah, actually, you're probably.
Then,
I think I'm in the semifinals because
it'll be Waterloo all over again. We'll have our Wellington, and they'll have their, Napoleon, and it's going to be tears for the French. Bosh, it's always about him. Come on, it's always about Rocket Ronnie. I'm just curious as to how this man can consistently remain the center of attention.
It's all very well orchestrated, to be honest.
It's genius, isn't it? It's genius.
We were taking a funny video. I was watching the game with my son, and there was a free kick. It was 25, 27 yards out. You think, all right, is he shooting? Of course he's shooting. But the funny part is the camera's on him, and he can't help but keep. Is that me? Yeah, there I am. Can't help it. Got to look again. Oh, there I am. I mean, it's pretty amazing. But the problem here for Portugal, when Jota went out, I worried about this team losing that weapon because they are better without him. They just simply are better without him. The game the other day, the 3-2, which could have gone 3-3 if that goalkeeper doesn't. That was amazing, by the way. But it is always about him until it's not. And let me remind everybody, the only tournament they've ever won or big trophy they've ever won as a country was when he got hurt. So let's just wait for it. He's not going to last the entirety of the competition. There's plenty of talent on the bench waiting for their opportunity. They'll speed up once they get him off the field if that time comes. If not, they will bow out.
Last week when we were talking about Ronaldo, we hadn't had the complete Manchester United fallout yet. We now know that has been terminated. I know we're here about the World Cup. So 10 seconds. Where does Ronaldo go next? And don't say Qatar, please, because he's already there.
No, he'll be in Major League Soccer. It's just a fight who can get their airplane there first, Messi or Ronaldo. But it would be Miami. That's going to be a pretty fun scenario. I hope with everything that's happened in New York, though, NYCFC, with that new project, they can't get it up in time for him to play in it because it's going to be ready for 2 years. He's going to be done in a year. I wish that would have been a possibility, but MLS, baby, that's where he'll be.
MLS. If MLS gets Ronaldo and Messi after this World Cup, that would do something crazy for this league. Okay, this one's going to be near and dear to your heart. First thoughts on this man, please.
Well, it's been weird, hasn't it? Ever since the injury a couple years back, he has lost a step. But when he wants to, he can still turn it on. That is the way I feel. I just think that he's a typical Dutchman. You got to live with the good and the bad, and sometimes that bad will drive you absolutely nuts. But the good is still world class. So it's I'm hanging on to hope that the Dutch can figure it out. And
well, there's no two ways about it. I mean, he is a Rolls Royce, but I'm wondering, he's a Rolls Royce and everyone around him is a Ford Cortina. You know, it doesn't like the Dutch team doesn't have that je ne sais quoi that I expect from a Dutch team. It doesn't have the excitement. I think they're a bit too functional, or maybe that's Louis van Gaal. You know, and they've still got some work to do to top the group.
No, they'll beat Qatar. They'll destroy Qatar. Qatar's bad. It'll be really interesting to see if Senegal or Ecuador crawl out of that deal, because that's who essentially England will be playing in that first round. So I still think there is some work to be done. They will rest some people, but you always have to be wary of teams like the Netherlands who don't start well. They don't look particularly great. But all of a sudden, when you put them on the world stage against a France or a Brazil or a Germany or an England, they show up, and the world class behavior that we expected is suddenly there. So look out for the Netherlands. They're coasting right now. They're coasting. That's a bad scenario to have to play against Qatar last before the first round, because that could bring their level down. But they have had a chance. I mean, they've proven this in the past. They've had a tendency to rise to the occasion. So don't count them out just yet, buddy.
The World Cup's been full of shocks. Perhaps we are going to see the greatest shock of all. Doubt it, but you never know. Okay, you were talking about world class. Well, this man's world class, but he came out and said something that I think, reverberating really around world football. In an article in The Guardian, and I just want to give you a quick shout out, Eric Wynalda has been one of the featured columnists in The Guardian in this World Cup, The Guardian being one of the most successful sporting websites on the planet. Kevin De Bruyne had an interview prior to the World Cup and was asked whether he thought Belgium could win this trophy with their golden age of players. And obviously their squad still has so many world-class players, and he said, no chance, we're too old. Interesting statement from Kevin De Bruyne to say that. Being that he is a magnificent competitor. Many would say perhaps entering his peak years. He's just 31 years of age, and for many, 28 to 32 are the peak years for a footballer. Why do you think he said that?
I don't know, but he has a history with Courtois. Those two don't get along, and his statement basically got a reaction out of Vertonghen, who said when they lost 2-0 to Morocco, well, maybe our offense is too old. So
trouble at Mill, isn't it?
As much as we love Kevin De Bruyne and we think that he's a wonderful footballer and whatnot, I think he has really decided to take this tournament off. He doesn't look himself. He doesn't look like he's really fighting through tackles. He just or really fighting to do anything. And it's really a shame, because this really was a moment in time where we expected him to really, really invigorate this team and get them to play better than they really are, even if they are old or not. But interesting thing to say, interesting way to play. He looks like he's already, looking into flights.
I wonder if Martinez has been in the job a little bit too long, not inspiring the troops as much. I mean, it's 6 to 8 years, and would you believe it? A rocket running he's only gone and scored. We're doing this show live right now, and he's scored against Uruguay. It's always about him.
It really is something. I still think they're a better team without him, but you know what? You got to take your hat off to the guy. That's 5 World Cups that he has scored in. It's absolutely insane. And I have to go watch it now.
Here we go. Gareth Southgate. He's my boy. He's so conservative, Eric. He's got all this talent, all this yumminess these young players that are worth millions on the transfer market, who do it week in and week out at the domestic level in what many people consider the best league in the world, and he won't unleash them. What is the matter with Gareth Southgate? What is he afraid of?
He's afraid of losing, and he's unafraid of the media. He doesn't care what they think, and he will do it his way. I think that what's interesting about this more recent revelation is that Henderson plays for Jude Bellingham, and that's to many of us, we're all scratching our head, but maybe he's saving him for the latter stages. But yeah, he's getting a lot of criticism right now, but I think you just like we just putting our foot in our mouth about Ronaldo, we're not gonna do it again. They're going to absolutely destroy Wales 4-5-0, and everything would be back to normal, and everybody can just stop yelling and screaming.
I don't see a thrashing of Wales. I think that from what I saw against the US, the England team, as soon as they get on the back foot, they are not the team that they need to be in this tournament. And Wales is that typical derby game. It's almost like a cup final where the underdog comes in. They make it difficult. They're going to run. They're never going to stop trying, the Welsh team. And they're going to make it an awkward game for England. And if England don't get out early, it's going to be one of those attritional affairs.
You've already won the group. Relax.
All right. Last one, because I know we've got plenty to do. This one's for you. I want you to be very, very careful. Okay. Can he do the biz when it matters? USA need 3 points against Iran, or they are going home. You've been in that situation. You've also played Iran in a World Cup. Obviously, you didn't get the business done then. Can you do the business this time?
Look, I think it's going to be a very pragmatic game. You know that you're playing against Carlos Queiroz. The good news for us is that we know exactly what they're going to do, and they know exactly what we're going to do. It's going to come down to a couple of plays, and if we are willing to understand the risk-reward of football. Now, you can't do a Gareth Southgate. You can't right now. You can't. And that's the problem, is that when you're in these kind of situations, you got to go for it. And he really likes to pull the reins on a team where he doesn't want to let them. If you get a goal, okay, good, thank God, sit back, let's wait. No, got to go for the throat. Got to go for the second one. So that's the concern. And who's he going to play? What are the selections going to be? And can we figure out a way?
Eric, though, in some respects, and it reminds me of a World Cup and a game that I was at actually in 2010 in South Africa, Algeria. Another game that you've got to win to advance, and a last-second winner. So from my standpoint, as long as you win, it doesn't matter when you win.
Right. But guess what? If that
Can you take 95 plus minutes of 0-0?
No, I can't, and I don't want to. But I mean, that Algeria game is exactly what might happen. It might be exactly that. But here's the problem with that scenario: Algeria also needed to win, so they had to push it at some point, and they waited very late before they decided to put some numbers forward. And that's the only reason why that entire play started with Tim Howard, is they finally crossed our center line and made an effort at goal. So. And then we threw it out. We know the rest. We get it wide. Landon ends up on the end of it after Dempsey crashes into a goalkeeper. And here we go, hero status. We can't rely on moments like that. I mean, if we literally don't score that, or that play doesn't happen the way it does, and we get out of there 0-0, we don't qualify. In a very similar fashion to this, with England being one of the opponents that we tied. You know, Slovenia being the other one. But look, 3 ties and out is what we're looking at if we don't get it right or lucky. So we can't rely on luck, Nick. We can't. We got to go for it.
Go for it. Everybody come back next Monday. The group stages will be done. We'll be talking about the knockout rounds for my good friend, and I'll put him on right there, Eric Wynalda. I'm Nick Webster. This has been Monday Night Manager. I'll see you next week.